Hello and welcome to the Horti-Culturalists. I'm Stephen Ryan.
And I am Matthew Lucas.
And we post a video every Friday. So why not subscribe and press the alert button to remind you each week when our videos come up.
And we do a short on a Monday, so if you have a question for Steve and Ryan to answer in 60 seconds, put it in the comments below and you will try and answer it.
I'll do my very best.
But Stephen, what is this fluffy gorgeousness behind us?
All right, well this is a very popular group of garden shrubs that we thought we might connect with today.
Yes.
They flower in high summer, which makes them very useful, and they're botanically known as Cotinus, and they're commonly known as Smokebush.
Yes, and very popular. Are they having a moment in the sun, pardon the pun, now? Are they quite fashionable?
They have been over the last few decades. They've really pushed themselves forward, and they've been selecting new cultivars and forms and so forth of them as well.
Yeah.
So of course when there's something novel and new comes on the market, everybody jumps on the bandwagon and wants to have one. And so yeah, so there's a range of them which we'll look at some of the ones that are available today.
But firstly, let's begin with this one.
What a good idea.
So Stephen, what is this one?
All right, well this is a selection of Cotinus coggygria, so the European smokebush.
Yes.
By the way, there's only 7 species in the genus.
I was about to say, where are they all from?
Yeah, and there's 1 or 2 in Europe, there's a couple in Asia, and then there's 1 or 2 that extend through into North America and down into Mexico. So they have quite a broad natural distribution, but there are only 7 recognized species.
So generalizing, do they all kind of do this? Are they fluffy in summer or?
Well, I have to be honest, I've never seen any of the Asian ones, so I don't actually know. If I'd known you were going to ask that question, I would have done some research. But anyhow, the European and the North American ones certainly get this wonderful fluffy plume-like flowers. They're in the same family as the Rus, R-H-U-S, and at one stage the species were included in the Rus genus, but they were cut out quite some time ago. And this particular one is comparatively new on the market in Australia. I don't know how long it's been available, but certainly we've only had it here for the last 6 or 8 years or so.
So when did you put this in?
This would have been put in about 5 or 6 years ago.
It's quite a good size then, isn't it?
Yeah, and yet it's considered to be a compact semi-dwarf variety.
If that's a semi-dwarf, I'm the Aga Khan.
Well, it's only a couple of metres tall, and Cotinus can get substantially more than that. So this is a green-leafed version called Young Lady, and its biggest claim to fame is that it has a compact habit with shortish stems, and every stem will produce a fluffy flower plume on it. So the whole plant turns into this amazing foam of fluffy flowers.
All right, but let's talk about flowers, because we've had the whole bract flower thing. Now we'll do a close-up. Is there actually a flower in amongst this fluff? What is it?
Yeah, well, the flower is amongst this fluff, and in fact, if you look closely, you can see the little seeds just starting to form.
Right.
So all of the fluff isn't flower, but there are individual little flowers throughout the fluff, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Yeah. So, and these plumes start off green, they're now going slightly biscuity coloured, they'll go a wonderful grey as they die, and this whole process will take about 3 months through the summer. So they give amazing value, and I might add they also colour well in the autumn as well. So in fact, Cotinus will give you value from early summer right through until the autumn, and the coloured leafed ones of course give you great value from as soon as their foliage breaks in the spring all the way through to the autumn.
And I think perhaps one of the reasons they might be more fashionable now is that I've seen them used in sort of prairie planting in terms of the shrubby stronger elements of a prairie, because you can leave the fluffy heads all through winter to maintain that kind of structure.
Yeah, well, as they fall apart, they just fall apart.
Both love prairie planting.
Yeah, all right.
Not true.
Don't say that. So, yes, so the Cotinuses are also mainly from Mediterranean-style climates, so they'll cope with quite dry summers. I never, ever water this plant.
And it's not in full sun, it's sort of...
Yeah, it gets the sun most of the day, but they're very happy in sun. So make sure they have an open sunny aspect for preference, particularly the coloured leafed ones. And just select the variety that's going to grow the shape, form and size that you need for the specific spot you put it in. Or coppice them down every so often.
We might get to coppicing later on, because that's a whole other subgenre about how to use Cotinus. Well, have we covered this one? Is this it?
Yes, I think so. We've covered it reasonably well. The only other thing I'd say about it is that it does get respectable, although not the best autumn foliage in the group. It's more about its summer plumes than anything else, but it can go pretty yellows and apricot oranges and things before it sheds in the autumn.
Well, then I think it's now time to go and look at other ones at your nursery.
What a good idea.
Off we go. Our Cotinus adventure continues. What is this one?
Well, this one is an old cultivar that's been around the trade for yonks. It could, in fact, be a hybrid between the North American and the European one.
Yeah.
But it's generally sold as Cotinus coggygria flame. And quite a good name for a smoke bush, actually, when you think about it. There's no smoke without flame. Sorry. Now, this one is beautiful in plume. So as you can see, it's got lovely plumes.
The colour, this sort of pinky tint.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. It starts off sort of creamy, goes through this really sort of pinky biscuity colour, and then goes grey as the plumes die.
Yeah.
And that is when it looks smoky-est. And this one will grow easily to 5 metres tall, so it's actually a small tree.
Right.
So allow space for it. Yes. Well, this one was planted in about 1986. So that gives you a sense of the age of the plant. And the big thing about flame that I really love is not only does it get particularly good plumes on it, but as a greenleaf cultivar, it's got probably the best autumn colour of any of them. And it goes the most fabulous scarlets in the autumn before it sheds. So we'll slot in a few pictures of that.
Excellent. And otherwise the same conditions, so this is in full sun, same water.
Yeah, exactly. All the Cotinus like much the same.
Brilliant. On to the next.
Right. Now, one of the things that Cotinus do really well is purple foliage.
Oh my
there's
goodness!
Heaps of purple varieties.
This also has a purple stem.
Yeah, it's just lovely. Now, this one is one of the best of the purples. If you want a really dark, rich purple.
Which we do.
Well, of course we do, but there are others which we will engage with later. But this is one that's been around for quite a long time and is known as royal purple. There's another one called velvet cloak, which is almost indistinguishable, so it probably doesn't matter which one you get. The only difference is with royal purple, if you look really closely, it has a little bit of pinky marking around the edge of the leaves, which is what would define it as opposed to velvet cloak. Now, it's only about a 2.5 metre shrub-ish, and it gets these lovely dark plumes on it.
And I was just noticing that the seeds are also the same beautiful purple colour. We'll come in and show those closely. Now, given that this is a smaller one of the things that we've mentioned in other videos is coppicing smoke bushes, Smokebush as a foliage plant. So talk us through the process, when you should do it and what the implications are.
If you want to coppice them, that's one way of sort of, I guess, controlling size to a certain extent. But people forget when you prune something, it actually will send up very vigorous growth because it's got a large established root system.
So can we just, for beginners, explain what coppicing is?
All right. Well, basically, it's chop it off at the socks. And you would do that in the winter. And the idea is that because it's got a vigorous root system underneath it and a larger root system than what you've left on the top, it will send up very strong canes and it will get extra large and really stunning foliage. But at the expense of plumes for the next season or so.
So this is the thing about coppicing, isn't it? It's totally about the foliage. You have to accept you're losing the floral element of it.
Exactly. And I might add something we haven't mentioned in passing is that the flower heads of Cotinus are fabulous for floral art. They last really well as a cut flower.
Do they?
Because we're in the Southern Hemisphere, I regularly use them in my Christmas decorations.
Oh.
Because they look very festive. Of course, that won't work if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. But they're very, very good as cut flowers. And just in passing, they're in the same family as the cashew nut, of all things.
Oh. Goodness me. Well,
so what can I say about that?
I guess none of this is edible. Now, if you're not coppicing it, I'm just noticing that the smoky plumes are coming from the end of a branch. So do you have to prune this if you are just letting it do its natural thing? Or what do you do with the dead heads?
You just leave them there because they collapse and fall off the plant and they look ornamental right through until the very end. So you don't have to prune the dead flowers off them.
But where does it, so I'm confused then about its growth. So
well,
this
the last flower would have been in there. So it'll be down in that centerpiece, and then the next growth comes up here. So that will then shoot 2 or 3 new shoots from below that. And so there's no necessity to prune a smokebush.
Right.
I mean, you can, as I said, we can coppice them if you're trying to create a different effect and look, but you can just allow them to grow into a large billowy shrub, and that's perfectly legitimate, and you'll certainly get far more plumes if you do that.
Excellent. And there are many other plants called smoke bushes that aren't Cotinus. And we actually made a video about, what was that one called?
Oh, the Canary Island smokebush.
Ah, the
Completely
fragrance.
unrelated.
The fragrance of that, and we'll link that below. A beautiful thing. Well, I think it's time for us to go and look at some more.
Yes, we're going to travel the streets and see some other people's Cotinus as well.
Guerrilla filming, off we go.
Yeah, here we go. Now, when it comes to purple Cotinus, there's more than one choice. We've had a look at royal purple.
Yes.
We know that velvet cloak exists and is very similar.
Yes.
But this one's quite different. This one has a more chocolatey purple to the foliage.
Yes.
And it's one known by the cultivar name of Grace.
I'm having flashbacks. Have we been here before, Stephen?
We have. We did actually do a video on purple foliage plants, which I guess we'll link below.
We will, up and down.
Yeah, and so we're back revisiting this plant because we're doing a specific one on Cotinus this time round. So Grace is a vigorous grower. It can easily get to 4 or 5 metres tall.
Yeah.
Gets lovely big smoky plumes on it, which are really very handsome.
Yes.
Its chocolatey burgundy foliage isn't as dark as royal purple, but its autumn colour is superior. So if you're looking for one for autumn colour in the purplish vein, then Grace would be a good alternative, I think, for those of you out there needing that.
And I'm just sort of anecdotally, this seems sort of more of a lolloping shrub than an upright.
It is. It's a big, blousy shrub. Blousy is probably a good word for it. It's not an easy plant to manage because it can get quite large. So unless you've got space for it, you might be better to coppice it, in which case you'll get strong canes with good foliage.
But no plumes.
Very few plumes. And in fact, the ones further down have been trimmed back a bit this year and they're not pluming.
But the foliage looks great. And this is sort of on the edge of a drive. We'll do a long shot to show you. And it's the perfect spot because it's got the space to sort of lollop.
Yes, lollop, yes. I'm sure that's the technical term.
And thank you very much to the owners who are allowing us to video it.
Yes,
thank you.
and we'll see you again.
We will. Now, on to the next one.
Yes, let's go.
Stephen, the final Cotinus in our epic journey. Look at the lime green leaves of this one.
Yes, this one is quite a colour break because green ones have been known obviously forever. Purple ones have been around for a long, long time, but gold-leafed ones are something comparatively new to horticulture.
Really?
And this one is one called, rather appropriately, Golden Spirit.
Aha.
So it's a lovely, lovely Cotinus. You can see it also gets nice fluffy plumes like most of them do.
Yes.
You have this very, very strong golden foliage. It tends not to burn badly in the sun like some golden things do.
Okay.
So I think for an Australian environment it may have quite a big future. And it will colour superbly in the autumn. So you do get really good autumn colour as well. So it's a moderately large growing one, so 2.5, 3 metres tall is not to be unexpected. This one's about that tall now, and it's pretty from spring till autumn.
What a fantastic Cotinus, and we'll try and show you, but it's surrounded by different coloured foliage plants. There's aeoniums, which are the bronze ones, a berberis, which is pink. We'll try and show you because the contrast of the lime and these colours is amazing.
Yes, so it is. It's a remarkable plant and it's in a very, very interesting spot in a friend's garden who I will probably have to thank in due course for allowing us in.
Thank you, Dale. And that, I think, brings us to the end of our Cotinus epic, Stephen,
It
right?
certainly does. So I hope you've all been impressed by our Smokebush epic, and I hope you're all aflame with passion for them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Enough.
Yeah.
If you want to know what we're doing next week, do hit subscribe. We post every Friday, and who knows what our continuing adventure might be, Stephen.
Well, it could be anything and anywhere, so do come along and join us next week.
And if you've got a quick question for Stephen, we do a short every Monday. So if you have a question, put it in the comments below, and Stephen will try and answer it in 60 seconds.
Just make it an interesting one, please.
And a little easy. Anyway, or answerable. We look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, bye all.